Didn't obviously do anything last season. Couldn't even make the team. But he's a prospect that I was like, you looked at the underlying data and you're like, wait, why do teams not like him? So there's something there with him. But again, odds are Jacobs, if he's not suspended, is going to pay off a third round ADP. I just kind of have to drop him down because we don't know. He misses half the season, you can't be taking him in round 3. DeAndre Swift, after him, 3 straight seasons of at least 250 touches, career high 1,386 yards, 10 touchdowns last year. And there's room for the
Nice. All right.
receiving work to increase.
Oh shit. Okay. Pretty much. Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and take Jamar here. Bum, 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 bum. All right. Jamar. This is. That's good. That's good. Wednesday.
What he saw last season. Manungai, 7th round pick. I know people hate when I kind of bring up these 7th round picks, and even with Tamian Martinez, it's like, I'm excited he's a 7th round pick. And people are like, oh, well, round doesn't matter when you see how good they are. No, it does, because if he played like that on 2nd round draft capital, the leash is very long, the role expands, and there's just more known with that underlying talent. Whenever we have these 7th round picks have a decent season, almost always, 99% of the time, they fall off. It's unfortunate, but go look at the list of 7th round running backs having a decent season and then see what they did after that. It's terrible. They just never do anything after it. Maybe Manungai kind of breaks that mold. I hope he does. I have him in Dynasty. I think he's a good player. But it's unlikely he has, this huge breakout from what we saw last year.
What happens here?
More likely he actually regresses.
I have an idea, though, of what I want to do.
Chicago also has a brutal schedule that hurts Manungai, helps Swift a little bit more. There's going to just be more games where it's more competitive or they're trailing when they're not expected to as often because we view Chicago as this great offense. But if they're always playing really good teams, they're going to fall behind more than you typically would expect from a really good offense. Also, it's the 2nd year in this Ben Johnson system. That's a positive for everyone. I like with Monty, whenever he falls into this range, Swift and Monty. Those are just the 2 guys that I'm really looking at. I don't think there's very much systemic risk here. The role is very strong. You'll have receptions, early down work, red zone role. I want Swift. I want Monty in this range. After Swift, it's Judkins. Lots of systemic risk. So if we talk about some players who it's there's not really that much risk around them, well, he plays on the Browns. And even though they have the 4th easiest schedule, it's the Browns. Their quarterback play is not going to be good. The offensive line is going to be really bad. The lack of a receiving game role is going to hurt. They don't really trust him a ton of pass protection. But I'll say, last season, as a rookie who missed a ton of time in camp, in 14 games, he had 256 touches, with 26 of those being receptions. So if he plays a fully healthy season, he's got a very clear path to 300 touches, 35 receptions. Like, and if that happens, you know, I think people, when they say the receiving upside isn't there, he's not a good pass catcher, they're viewing him and saying, oh, his upside is like 17 to 20 receptions. No, he could have 35 receptions. It's just that, you know, if he was prolific in the receiving game, he'd be a second-round pick. So you're getting that discount. It's just that, you know, if the receptions don't improve, and if this offense is as terrible as it's probably going to be, there's just probably going to be a lot of games where it's more of a, like, Dylan Sampson game, and you never really want that in this range, right? There's not going to be a ton of games where, like, Monty and Swift are, like, games scripted out of it, but Judkins can be game scripted out of it, so that kind of hurts. The one thing I keep clinging to is the coaching change. Talked about this in a different video, but no coach has created explosive runs at a higher rate than Todd Monken over the last 25 years. Judkins, 91st percentile speed and 94th percentile burst, turns 23 in October. Like, he's a highly explosive player playing for a coach that creates explosive runs. That's basically the upside here. But if the line is bad, the team is bad, the quarterback's play is bad, if everything around him is bad, it is tougher for him to hit his ceiling. And lowest implied team total of any team in the fantasy playoffs, third lowest overall. Again, the environment is really tough there. Henderson, well, does he improve? Like, that's basically what we're talking about with Travion. Is Ramondre's the lead guy. Like, until we see something different happen, Ramondre Stevenson's the lead running back on this team. Basically, when you're drafting him this high, which I don't typically do, you're assuming that he takes that step forward in the receiving game, but also like the blocking game as well. Like, they didn't bench him because he's a bad pass catcher. They benched him last season because he was missing blocks. Like, blitzes were coming in, and he just wasn't picking them up. And you can't do that, especially with a bad offensive line. The team's going to blitz a lot. They're going to gain pressure at a higher rate than normal, even when they're not blitzing. You need your running back to be able to pick up the blitz. Now, the offensive line improved. The pass catchers improved. Like, this offense is going to be very good, so that's going to make up for the fact that they had a very easy schedule last season. So they're going to win a decent amount of games, going to score a lot of points. And it was a disaster last year for Travion, but he also had 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns and 35 receptions, and he was 25th in adjusted points per game. So having him 23rd here isn't exactly crazy. You don't need him to be that much better than he was last year, and I do think the odds are he's going to improve from what we saw last season. The team is just going to be better. I know they made it to the Super Bowl last season, but, you know, that was more of the scheduling. Offense is going to be improved this year if he can get out there. Like, they want him to be on the field, because that's the thing. Like, they love his speed because he can stretch defenses. And they love that, you know, even from lining up in the backfield, he could threaten a safety deep downfield. That just creates things on offense. So they want him to be a thing. It's, can he be? Can he earn that role in camp? Tier 5. Tootin, Bucky Irving, Tony Pollard, Stevenson, and Jadarian Price. Bashal Tootin leading this off. I can see an argument for putting him at the end of Tier 4. I might move him up, but it's going to depend on camp reports. I need to see those clear camp reports that he's the guy. He's got featured potential this season. Remember, this video is static. You could look in a week on the website, and he has moved up, because if we get those reports from camp, I am going to change things. That's basically the one we're looking at. Is, does C-Rod have any early down role? Does LaQuint Allen come in on passing situations? Is this like some sort of 3 running back committee in Jacksonville? If not, I think Tootin is awesome. Don't let the yards per carry fool you from last season. He was used a lot in short yardage situations in year 1 because he's really good in those situations. But that's going to tank your yards per carry. It's going to tank your missed tackles forced per attempt. Even if you're a good running back, if you're in short yardage, you're not making people miss that much. You're just trying to get that first down, and your yards per carry are going to be capped. He's a better running back than you think. This offense is really good. Clear league winning upside if he can get that role. Tony Pollard, after him, another running back I draft a ton in this range. Running back 28 in points per game last season. Almost impossible for the offense to be worse than it was last year. Titans are actually projected for 20.7 points per game, which is tied with the Panthers. It's only half a point per game behind the Falcons this season. I feel like that's a lot higher than a lot of people are expecting. Nick Singleton is not a threat to Pollard's workload. He's really not even a threat to Spears' workload. I think there's a decent chance that Brian Daboll, who historically has been someone who, when he likes his guy and when he sees his best player, features them, just gives a lot of production to him, there's a chance that he just decides that Tony Pollard is the best running back on this team. He decides to feature him like he did Cam Scatterboo last season. And even if he doesn't, Pollard's going to be the lead back. He's going to get a ton of touches. He really is a good pick. Even if the Titans don't take that next step, he's still a great pick this season. Ramondre Stevenson, as far as things stand right now, like I said, he's still the lead running back in New England. When all the chips were down on the table last season in the playoffs, he played at least 61% of the snaps in all 4 playoff games. He had touch counts of 13, 20, 25, and 12. So all the chips are down. Not that many months ago, he's the guy. Unless Travion Henderson steps it up in camp, it's probably going to be a repeat of last season. New England improved their offensive line. They improved their wide receiver room. Like, he's a really good discount, but I will concede that, like, you know, the team wants Travion to be the guy. They want that to happen. That's not ideal for your running back. They want the other guy to be the lead, but also high contingent upside. You see an injury, either one of these two, the other one's going to skyrocket and die. And then finally, Jaren Price, I just really worry about the passing game role. I think Zach Ericson had a really, really good stat where he highlighted the concern. Everyone likes to say, well, he's playing behind Jeremiah Love. Of course he didn't. Okay, but that has been the case for other running backs. We have used that excuse before for other running backs. Jaren Price's best season college reception share was 2.8%. That is super low. In Zach Erison's database, since 2011, 48 running backs have had 5% or lower. How many of them do you think hit 10 points per game, 10 full PPR points per game in any of their first 3 seasons? That is not a high bar. That is like a mid-range running back 3. So among 48 running backs with below a 5% best season college reception share, only one of them hit 10 full PPR points per game over the first 3 years of their career. It's just one of those years, and it was Derrick Henry. So unless we think Jaren Price is Derrick Henry, it's not looking good. Again, we have used that excuse before. He's not a good pass catcher. It's unlikely he's used in the receiving game. Odds are it's going to be a committee, and then odds are it's a committee. Then they add in Charbonnet once he's healthy enough to play, and Charbonnet's the lead back. I almost never draft Price. I just don't see it this season. Tier 6, Warren, Chuba, Harvey, Monangai, and Rico Dowdle. We're starting to get into a lot more concerns, but I will say I think I'm moving Jaylen Warren up because I was prepping for this video and I'm like, man, I like Warren. Like, I feel like he's just a really good pick this season. I prefer Warren over Rico just because of the receiving role. I don't know who's going to win early downs. I do think Rico's probably set up better because also, you know, they bring him in free agency. They clearly saw something they like. And the easiest way to use him is to have him be the lead running back on early downs, to say, okay, you know, Warren, you're going to be in this role we keep having you in of, you're going to change your pace back, you mix in for carries, but then you're using the red zone, you're used for receptions. Even if that's the case, look at all of the receptions he had. Like, he was backing up Najee Harris the first 3 years, still racks up 127 receptions through his first 3 seasons. Then Gainwell breaks out last year, but Warren still caught 40 balls and 45 targets. We look at who the quarterback is, who the offensive system is centered around. Well, it's someone who's going to check down a ton, right?
Oh, I knew it.
Pittsburgh dumped to running backs 132 times last season. San Francisco was the only team last season, not only in terms of like per play target share running backs, but total targets to the running back position, only team to surpass Pittsburgh. So ton of dump offs available here. Warren has legitimate like 70, 75 reception upside. It's not going to matter all that much how he projects on early downs at that point. And that's assuming Rico does lock up that top job. What if we see Warren win that job or be in like a split in early downs and have 75 receptions? A lot of upside going this late. People are going to look at Eli Heidenreich, but I mean, I highly doubt he's going to have a role. It's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wants someone out there he trusts, has a long history of success. It's not going to be Eli out there. Chuba Hubbard after this, I don't draft Chuba that much. If Brooks gets hurt again, then Chuba's probably going to pay off his ADP by a decent margin. But if Brooks stays healthy, then Chuba is going to be unusable at times. And so risk there, but you basically need Chuba to be featured because he's just not an efficient runner and the offense isn't that great. He's not a player I draft that much personally. I think the team wants Brooks to be that lead back, and so I think they slowly ramp him up as the season goes on. That's not ideal for Chuba to be losing value over time because you're not starting him in week 1. You don't draft him to be a starter, and so if he's going to lose value as the season goes on, that's not great. But we said that before, and then Brooks has torn his ACL. So if he tears his ACL a third time, then of course Chuba's going to be a decent pick. But also Carolina has the hardest strength of schedule than the team this season. That's brutal for running backs unless you're prolific in the receiving game, and Chuba is not. He's a career 5.1 yards per target. That is terrible. RJ Harvey after him. Dobbins is going to remain the lead back on early downs. Also just concerns me a little bit that the team viewed Harvey as the featured back last season, right? They watched it happen, like viewed as in like saw with their eyes, because Dobbins goes down. And so we get all these games where Harvey's the guy. And then what do in the offseason? They're like, okay, we need Dobbins back, and we need to draft Jonah Coleman round 4. If they were watching Harvey in that role and were like what we saw, would they have done that? I don't know. And Jonah Coleman, 5'8", 220 pounds, good in the receiving game. I mean, he could be used in the red zone. He could be used as a pass catcher. All of a sudden, you're like, wait, where are the roles here? Dobbins is definitely the early down guy. We think Dobbins is passing downs. We think he's like, red zone. But Coleman's good enough to do that as well. So a little bit concerning. I think this is a huge one where we got to just know in camp. But yeah, I just don't trust it. They spread the ball around a lot as well. Sean Payton's totally fine having multiple running backs. I don't know. There's a lot of risk here. His ADP's cratering, but it probably needs to fall a little bit more for me to get him. Kyle Monangai, after I mentioned before, there's risk here being a 7th round running back. The unfortunate reality is that the track record of successful 7th round running backs in the rookie season is really, really bad. Beyond that, maybe Monangai breaks the mold, but you're kind of betting on it in these single-digit rounds. Like we're still in the single-digit rounds right now for redraft leagues.
When emergency strikes, first responders rely on the latest technology. That's why T-Mobile built
I hope he hits, but it's just every time a 7th round rookie running back has done something, they've fallen off after that. I do genuinely think he's good. I think the contingent upside is also awesome. We saw him go off when Swift was out for a week last season. I still draft him sometimes in this range when I need a running back because the contingent upside is so significant. But I hate the fact that it was a 7th round pick. The fact that the schedule is just so brutal. I mean, that hurts him more than it hurts DeAndre Swift, as I said before. And just like, wow, Swift is healthy. How much are you really going to play him? Like, even if you were looking at him as like a bye-week fill-in, I mean, the odds are he's not getting that many touches. He's not going to go out there and have like 5.5 yards per carry. There's plenty of other guys that can score touchdowns. So the upside is Swift getting hurt, and he does get drafted a little bit earlier than handcuffs. Then finally this year, Rico Dowdle. I like Warren a lot more than Rico just because of those receptions. To be fair to Rico, though, over 1,300 yards in back-to-back seasons on different teams. That's very difficult. Changing teams again, though, so it's going to keep being difficult for Rico. He did straight up outplay Chuba Hubbard last season and replaced him. This will be a big battle to watch. If Rico goes out there and looks awesome in camp, I will move him up the rankings, but that will need to happen. Then finally, Tier 7, Brooks, Gainwell, Dobbins, Corum, White, Mason, and Keaton Mitchell. For Jonathan Brooks, super boom bust, right? He legit has 12 touches in his career coming off back-to-back torn ACLs. The team seems confident, right? They let Rico walk. They didn't sign or draft anyone. He turns 23 the day I'm recording this, so happy birthday, Jonathan Brooks. As I said before, I think the team wants him to be the lead back. He's more explosive. He's better in the receiving game. Like, Chuba's not good. 49 running backs last season had at least 100 rush attempts. Chuba ranked last in explosive run rate, last in missed tackles forced per attempt, second to last in touchdown rate, third to last in yards after contact per attempt. His longest run was 14 yards on 134 carries. Like, he's not that good. They want Brooks to be the guy. Can he stay healthy? No clue. Kenny Gainwell, after that, racked up over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns last year, including 73 receptions. Of course, that was what we talked about. Pittsburgh threw running backs a ton. Not going to happen as high a rate in Tampa Bay. I also just think it's a committee. Like, truly, Bucky's a good running back. Sean Tucker's probably the best 3rd running back in the NFL. It's just going to be a huge committee, but everyone has contingent upside. So if you saw Bucky get injured again, well, now Gainwell is awesome. you saw Gainwell get injured. Now Bucky is awesome. If you see Sean Tucker get injured, well, now both of these two are a little bit more viable as fill-in. Like, it's just when no one's injured, I don't know how much we're going to trust these guys. But Gainwell proved to be a really good running back last season. I like drafting him in this general range for that upside. Better than full PPR, though. These rankings for the half PPR. J.K. Dobbins, after this, more of a floor pick, so better in best ball as a guy where it's like you just need that baseline production. Maybe you skip the position for a while. You just need that floor, and it's that floor from a season-long perspective. I know what's going to happen for Dobbins. He's going to win the early down job and get some touchdowns, but not of receptions. There's no risk in that. We know that's going to happen, but he doesn't have the ceiling. So in a redraft league, there's really no world where Dobbins has receptions, is someone that you're trusting every week, is a locked-in, loving it running back too. His floor is going to be annoyingly low. So we get in a redraft league, it's not as good. You would need probably both Harvey and Jonah Coleman to get injured for him to rack up receptions, but it's nice that the team loves him, the coaches love him. He's many of the coaches' favorite player, so he's getting the ball. It's just more of like a standard league pick, honestly. Blake Corum, what I talked about with Kyrie, basically repeat that here. If they're headed for a 50-50 split, and even if Kyron barely remains the lead in passing situations, if the Rams are projected for the most points in the NFL and they have a great defense, the contingent upside is also crazy high. It's probably running back 1 if Kyron gets injured. He's a pretty good pick going this late. The problem is if there's not that injury, Corum has 15 receptions in 34 career games, and they're inefficient. So when you look at someone, I'm not going to compare him to Derrick Henry here, but someone like Derrick Henry who doesn't have receptions. Derrick Henry is also super efficient on his receptions. Somehow, Blake Corum is hyperly inefficient on the very limited receptions he does get. 4.3 yards per target, absurdly low. He needs that 50-50 split. He needs a lot more touches to be actually someone you're trusting in fantasy. But again, great offense. And contingent upside is awesome. Rachaad White up next, obvious passing down running back for the Commanders. Unfortunately, you don't want the passing down running back for the Commanders. No team threw to running backs at a lower rate than the Rams, but no team threw to running backs fewer times in total than the Commanders. 56 running back targets last year for the Commanders. They were bottom 7 in 2024 as well. Don't really know what to make of this backfield too. Is JCM going to be a thing? Is Katron Allen going to be a thing? Mostly an avoid. Probably a 3 running back committee with very limited targets going to the running back position. Jordan Mason up next. Reports are he'll be the clear lead running back, but we kind of need to confirm that in training camp. Kevin O'Connell is being underrated this season after McCarthy tanked the offense last year. What if the Vikings offense is actually good under Kyler Murray? They still have a great defense. They play in a dome. Jordan Mason has a career 5.1 yards per carry. There was truly nothing he could do at times last season. He was being efficient. He was doing great as a running back. But when the offense falls apart around you, I don't know. I think people are just kind of overlooking the team in general, like all of their players. Jefferson's a great pick. Addison, Kyler, Mason, they're all really good picks this season because Kevin O'Connell is a really good coordinator, head coach, but obviously he's doing the play calling and all those things, designing the plays. This offense has a ton of upside. On average, maybe some of these guys fail, but the ceiling case here is exceptional, especially when you add in the defense for Mason. Not going to have many receptions. Aaron Jones is still there, but they plan on limiting Jones somewhat this season to keep him fresher and healthier. He was like career lows last season in efficiency. I think that, his touches go down. Devon Claiborne's not going to be a thing. I really think a ton of touches are coming for Jordan Mason. And if this offense improves, there's a lot of upside here. Then finally, Keaton Mitchell. I'm all in on the Chargers this season. As I said before, Mike McDaniel. When your offensive coordinator is printing off wanted posters for you, maybe draft that player in fantasy when they're going as like your last running back pick. A lot of similarities between him and Devon Achane in terms of the explosiveness, the speed, the body build, the touches in college. Like a lot of that stuff is the same. We just haven't seen it yet for Keaton staying healthy in the NFL. But look at the GPS tracking. I mean, if you guys want the most of any player in the NFL, and it was on 59 carries. Think about that for a second. 59 touches. 59 touches for Keaton Mitchell. 7 times he hit 20 plus miles per hour, the most of any player in the league. That's crazy. He had 196 touches in college. He had 228 touches another year in college. Like, he has stayed healthy in the past. He has gotten touches in the past, and he doesn't need 300 touches, right? He's like your last running back pick, highly explosive player, great offense. He's potentially going to be in this Devon Achane role. I pick him every single time in this range. So if you want to see my exact ranking on every player as it also changes, because this is the last running back rankings video of the season, as it changes throughout the summer, I update it every single day to keep up to date with the latest news. See that on my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like if you are still here. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube and Spotify if you are new.
Already subscribed, buddy. Did I watch this already?
And David.
Why slow bake a sourdough when you can rustic it? The rustic oven, the bread you'd make if you made bread.
Sometimes I just want what I want right now, you know? Well, with Chase Secure Banking, your direct deposit hits your bank account up to 2 days faster. 2 days? 2 days. Sick.
Njoku, again, continuing that trend of every single Chargers player I want to have rostered at an above average rate. I did not mention Hampton. I did not mention, I kind of mentioned Herbert. He's at like 12%, I said. I'm getting that a little bit higher. But I'm above weight on Hampton, on Ladd, on Quentin Johnston. They're just not my most drafted players. This roster wide receiver is Trey Harris. Don't necessarily need to go through that one. Again, exact same take as before. I think the Chargers go off this season, so just give me their single cheapest wide receiver by a significant.
That's my wife in the truck here in Orange County, Florida.
Yep.
14 million views as of this morning. The comments are exactly what you'd think they are.
Yeah.
So I let her take the truck.
Drafted every player in this video at least twice as often as average, and I'll let you know which ones I've drafted 3 times more, 4 times more than you'd naturally get just going based off ADP. Gonna be a really long one, so sit back, hit the like button. We'll start things off with the running back position because that's what you guys like hearing about most. My most drafted running back so far this season is Breece Hall on 22% of my teams. That does mean I don't have a single running back 3x the field or more. I think a big part of that is also because I do like locking up the running back position a little bit earlier on. You're a little bit more likely to be like very overweight players in the later rounds, right? It's just much easier to land a late round option that you really like because there's a lot more variance in those ADPs. You're much less likely to have like a round 1 player 30% of the time unless you're reaching a little bit further ahead. We'll get to the round 1 player that I am pretty far ahead on and why that might be coming down. But yeah, as you move later and later into draft, it's more likely. So pretty impressive that I have Breece Hall as my top drafted player right now. I just think he's a really, really good pick in drafts because it also doesn't matter how you start out. He's going to be a good pick. He is a fantastic pick. I think like the best scenario for you if you're targeting Breece Hall is when you start off with like Jamar Chase or Puka and you have that top 4 pick, meaning you're going to get that early 3rd rounder where Breece Hall is going to go, and you start off wide receiver, and you say, okay, we need running back, right? Like this season, the running back drop-off is significant. You don't really want to be starting with like an RB0 build this year. So if you take Chase, you take Puka, you're looking for running back at this like 2-3 turn, and he's just a great option a lot of the times there for you in round 3. But I've even taken him in some like 3 running back builds and say, I'm going to start off with 3 running backs here. I've got like, I don't know, Gibbs or Bijan, and then you get like Love and Breece Hall, and you just say, I'm going to just forego this position for a very long time, locked it up, we'll go tight end, we'll go quarterback, we'll go with wide receivers in these middle rounds. I basically hope that you just don't even have to draft another running back to later rounds. I mean, he just turned 25 years old, so very much still in the prime of his career. I feel like he's younger than a lot of people. I think he's got 3 consecutive seasons of over 1,350 yards. He'll remain highly involved in the passing game, should be more involved than last season, given who the quarterback is now. The Jets should be a much better offense this season. We say that a lot, and then it doesn't happen. But this season, compared to last year, I mean, let's be honest. All they had last season was Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, and then Garrett Wilson got hurt, so they only had Breece Hall. You get Garrett Wilson back healthy, you bring in Sadiq, you bring in Omar Cooper, you get a full off season for Adonai Mitchell, you bring in Geno Smith. If you're worse than last season, then I don't even know how that occurred. Also, people for negative, they're like, okay, I get it. Obviously, all that stands out. But then they say like Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. There's like a little bit of coach speak about getting them more involved this season. I'd be concerned about that if they didn't say the exact same thing last season, only for Breece Hall to have
No, Schultz
215
went.
more touches
Fuck me,
than the
dude.
next closest player. So Breece Hall had 279 touches last season. Isaiah Davis was next at 64. Then it was Mason Taylor at 44. So Breece Hall was the entire offense last year.
Fuck.
And again, they're making the exact same comments as last year about, we'll get our other backs involved. No. Breece Hall's going to be a featured running back this season. And defenses actually have to worry a little bit about their other skill players. So, sure, maybe he doesn't have the same touch ceiling theoretically on a share basis. But if the offense isn't absolutely dreadful, then the efficiency should go up because defenses are scoring other players. And also, the offense will score more touchdowns. They'll be on the field more, running more plays. And so, it's still a benefit having a better offense. So I just love taking him anytime in round 3. Like, even at the turn on, anytime you get into round 3, I'm good taking Breece Hall this season. Second most drafted running back is Keaton Mitchell at 20%. I'm just all in on the Chargers this season. You will see that a lot throughout this video. I think people forgot or have forgotten how the offensive line fell apart last season. Like, remember watching those games last year and us talking about it being like, yeah, these are really good players, but when there's pressure 1 second into a drop back, it's very difficult to even call a play that targets deep downfield. You got to just, drop back and get the ball out instantly, and that's not an offense that's going to be highly successful, right? This season, the offensive line should be healthy, so you have that upgrade. You also have Mike McDaniel joining the team. That's an upgrade as well. I'm willing to die on a hill saying draft Chargers players. So I don't even really care which one it is. Obviously, I would prefer Amarin Hampton to Keaton Mitchell. Obviously, I prefer Ladd and Glenn Johnson to Trey Harris, who we'll talk about, but at what cost, right? Like, Keaton Mitchell is available so late in drafts, usually in redraft leagues. That's like your last running back. Why not attach yourself to this offense, get some contingent upside, get some potential for weekly upside? I just think, like, Justin Herbert could win MVP this season. I want to be taking pieces of this offense, and so if they're available really late, I'll do that. Third most drafted running back is also 20%, so he gets tied for second, and that's Quinton Judkins. I was a little surprised to see this one because I don't want to say I've been up and down on Judkins this offseason, but I haven't been, like, all in the way I've been all in on Breece Hall, all in on Keaton Mitchell. There have been times where I'm like, he's a good pick, but not, like, an elite pick, so I'm a little surprised. It does fit the format, so all these drafts are half PPR. I've mentioned also that full PPR, it's a much lower ceiling because while I think he's not a zero in the receiving game, we know that Dylan Sampson is going to be highly involved in the receiving game. We know that Judkins is not a prolific pass catcher, so when you transition to full PPR, I'm definitely much less excited about him. But really excited in full PPR, or in half PPR. No play caller has created explosive runs at a higher rate than Todd Monken over the last 25 years. Cleveland, really easy schedule this season, and they don't get to play themselves, right? So it's fun having these bad teams, because Cleveland's still a bad team, have the easy schedule, because usually it's reserved to, like, the good teams. Sounds weird, but it's like a good team can't play themselves, and a bad team can't play themselves. So if you're the worst team in the league, guess who you don't get to play? The worst team in the league. So you have to play all the other teams. Best team in the league, guess who you don't have to play? Yourself, right? So you're playing all the other teams. Whenever you see a really bad team, like top 5 in schedule, their schedule is, like, consistently very, very solid because they're not getting the free win. As I said, Brock Bowers is my most drafted tight end by a significant margin. Someone on the analytics team recently tweeted out, the Raiders analytics team last season, recently tweeted out that their plan was for Bowers to break the single-season receptions record last season. But unfortunately, he gets hurt in the third quarter against New England. But he had
16,
over 100 yards
1.58, 08.
Like, it really was. They were going to force feed him the football. He was going to be dropping, like, 8 for 120 to score, like, most weeks. But then he was just never healthy after that. And that was last season. That was no Mendoza. That was no Kubiak. I mean, as I've said before, Brock Bowers has JSN level upside, but you get to play him at the tight end position. I'll take him every time in the mid-second round once Saquon, Hampton, Ken Walker, and Chase Brown.
Montgomery, Swift, Pollard,
so they're all
Mason,
gone.
JT.
Jefferson is gone. Lamb is gone. I'm not going to that next range of running back. I will take Bowers over Derrick Henry, over Devon Achane, over Nico Collins, over Drake London. I'll take him over them. He's right after that range of running back, and I just get him a significant amount of time. And then, sky's the limit. Like, if he actually has a JSN level season amount of time, and I'll take him over them. He's right after that on Chan over Nico Collins, going to that next range board. So they're all gone. Jefferson is gone. Lamb is gone. I'm not going to that next range of running back. I will take Bowers over Derrick Henry, over Devon Chan, over Nico Collins, over Drake London. I'll take him over them. He's right after that range of running back, and I just get him a significant amount of time. And then, sky's the limit. Like, if he actually has a JSN level season at tight end, it almost doesn't matter what else you do with the rest of your draft. You can play it super safe. You don't even have to shoot for upside, because if he hits, that's going to catapult you right into the playoffs. It's going to advance you on underdog. It's just my strategy this season. If I'm in that range, I'm taking Bowers. If I don't get Brock Bowers, I am trying my absolute hardest to get Colston Loveland in round 4. I genuinely think that Loveland is the guy that Ben Johnson is going to center the offense around this season. He is an absolute nightmare matchup for defenses. And last season with Brock Bowers, teams were like, okay, well, quarterback plays bad and you have no wide receivers. So
All right,
we're just
well, I'm going to
start
take Tank
corner
Dell here.
on Brock Bowers. And that makes it more difficult when he also has a knee injury, right? So it made it really difficult for him last year. The Bears, you can't do that against Bears. I mean, they have a Dunze, they have Luther Burden. There's no one taking their top corner and putting it on Colston Loveland. So he's basically going to be their number 1 wide receiver going against like slot corners and linebackers. And if they actually center the offense around him, oh my goodness, the upside. He could be the number 1 tight end. So I want Bowers to start, and if I don't get him, I am taking Colston Loveland. That's why they're number 1 in the my ownership right now. Also, I mentioned this very early in the year. Chicago has a brutal schedule this season. They play a lot of really good teams, and their defense is not that good. So we could get a ton of shootouts in Chicago. I hate that they have so many outdoor games, especially later on in the season, but it's just, there's so much upside. Again, because I don't see Ben Johnson centering the offense around a Dunze. A Dunze is not really a player you do that for. The efficiency is going to be just far too low. And then Luther Burden was highly efficient.